Have you notified Lord Helmet?
Yes, sir. I took the liberty. He's on his way.
Make way for Dark Helmet! All rise in the presence of Dark Helmet!
I can't breathe in this thing!
Hey everybody, welcome to another, and I say another hesitantly, welcome to the Collective Spotlight. It's been a while since I've been able to do one with everything in the shop. We're upping our orders, we were prepping for MegaCon of sorts. We're absolutely already in the 11-month preparation for MegaCon 2023 with the Collective. So it's been a crazy few months. But yeah, we're back at it. I have Arman today. He's backstage. The reason I started without Arman being 100% ready was just the StreamYard only let me go to Facebook until 5:40. So I went ahead and dropped it at 5:40 so that we wouldn't lose our Facebook viewers. But today I am interviewing, so the Collective Spotlight was always interviewing indie creators about their books, Collective Spotlight, Collective Initiative, everything like that. So today we're going back to those roots with Arman Nasim, who has 3 books right now. Elixir, Genetic Superiority, and Lost Magic. And he's going to be on here talking about all 3 books. Without any further ado, here's Arman.
Hey, guys. Nice to finally meet you, Danny. Nice to finally
It's been a long time coming, dude. But the books look great. They literally showed up. I don't know if they came Saturday or today, but when I checked the mail today, they were there. It was perfect timing for everything.
Perfect. I was hoping so.
Your first book was Elixir, right?
Yep, that was the most recent one.
The most recent. Oh, so that was your recentest book.
Yes.
Which one was your first one?
The first one was Lost Magic, and then that was the magic that started it all, the fantasy story, and then Genetic Superiority came out next month, and then the second one, and then Elixir just came out, released, printed, and shipped out to stores. So, yeah.
That is awesome, dude. Now, talk to us. Let's start at the beginning, and let's start with Lost Magic. You said this one was kind of the fantasy one. If people look at the back of the book, you have a cool map. Kind of reminds me of a mixture of Elder Scrolls and everything like that, the way you get the map of the world. Tell people what Lost Magic is kind of about and how you ended up getting the idea to do your first comic book.
I wanted to, I knew I had a story. I always loved fantasy ever since I grew up on like the Witcher video games, and even Game of Thrones was huge inspiration. And what I saw was when I was learning, I want to tell, crazy stories. Everybody tells you to kind of start out small. So I kind of did, but I kind of didn't, because they said, do these short stories, it could be 4 to 6 to 10 pages. And then take it one step at a time. But then when I was really filling it out, and I was coming out with these stories about this lost world that's filled with magic and monsters, that's kind of where my mind led to. I wanted to tell this story through different characters' point of views, which I don't think has been done before in comics, maybe for good reason, but I wanted to do something crazy for the first one. And I told the story kind of like George R.R. Martin did in his books for Game of Thrones, through chapter point of views. And it really kind of, even though it goes chronologically, it also it really jumps the story to all the action where it's happening, to the most important moments in the story, and it really let you meet all new characters and see the world in a different way. And this book in particular was about a war that was brewing between a growing new kingdom and a rebellion that wants and they're fighting over magic, basically, in the sense that magic is dying, and then now they're fighting over if they want to move forward without magic or recapture the lost magic. So that's the general story. And yeah, it's been something that's been ruminating for like a year now in my head. And then I just wanted to do it this year, and I finally launched it in January. So
That's awesome. I as I was flipping through, so you have as you go through the Book of Lost Magic, like each chapter, as you say, you kind of have a cover for it, and it says like episode 1, episode 2, episode. So each episode, it's a new protagonist, right? Like
Yep.
you're seeing it through that point of view.
yes, exactly. And
That is super cool. And you have there's 6 episodes, right?
6 episodes. I think I did that final count. It was like 20 characters, arguably main characters in this first 32 pages. So it's a large sandbox, a large open world. So
And what people forget about the independent books, and I love to mention, so you say 32 pages, and like somebody would see a 32-page DC comic and it'd be like, all right, that's 26 pages of story. I mean, yeah, you got those pretty, let's call them pinups. You got a couple pages of pinups, but all of this is story, all 32 pages besides the back cover, and the back cover is a map.
yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
you utilize the whole book.
100%. Yep, that was the thing, and you can get lost still in this map because even after you read it, you're gonna want to see all the places that you were just reading, and where it was located. Kind of again about like high fantasy. J.R.R. Tolkien did it in Lord of the Rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really expands the world, makes you feel it, and the map was one of the first things that was done before the actual stories, because of course you have to kind of picture it and place everything. So super excited.
That's awesome. And Joe just asked, he said, so in theory, it could go on for a very long time.
My guy, absolutely. So 5 seasons are already planned and laid out, and it could keep going on because there's no one character. We're not following one character. We're following a world that's a giant sandbox, and there's new characters coming in every issue, every season, and the returning ones from the last one. So it's definitely. I would like to keep it going. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Are you hoping to do a season 2 this year, or are you thinking maybe keep them for January?
Oh man, season 2 is already out, but we'll talk about that.
Oh, season 2 is already out. I'm even more excited about it. We'll have to get that.
But yeah, it just got off the printers. It's like coming to.
Oh, that's the kick. Was that the one that you were saying you were about to launch?
Yep, exactly. Yep. So
Cool,
so that's happening, and then but yeah, this year I'm planning on all 5 seasons coming out of Lost Magic. So by December we'll get 5 issues, 5 seasons of Lost Magic, and I'm really hoping that it finds its fan base, its audience, and we can just keep doing it. So
that's awesome. No, and I love, because typically I see a high fantasy book and I compare it to Elder Scrolls. So I like that you mentioned The Witcher too, because it absolutely does have a Witcher feel and that sandbox, grand world type of thing.
Yes.
So your second book was a little different. It was more on that sci-fi, right? And that was Gen Superiority.
Yes. And this was, I wanted to do something completely different. I wanted to follow more of traditional storytelling. One character that's traditional storytelling wise, but a crazy idea again about it's almost like a pre-apocalyptic book where it's a prophecy, that a chosen warrior story that starts it all with the end of the world is coming, apocalypse, a kind of scenario happens. I believe it's a supernova star explodes, and it kind of sets off in motion like a self-fulfilling prophecy where now everybody thinks the world's going to end. And what we're seeing here in this wasteland, it's in the future, where people now have to decide how they're going to survive, and they all think that their way of thinking is going to help them survive this apocalypse. And it's their cultures are built around science, and the science is the 3 societies are the animalists, the robotics, and the purists. And what this story was about is about humans, kind of changing their DNA or interfering with their DNA, and basically trying to evolve themselves to the next evolution of mankind. And what that means is different for these 3 societies, and they all think they're right, and they're all vying for power in this wasteland. And then you throw in this prophecy, and then now everything's really going to go crazy. So it's a lot. It's kind of like Walking Dead. It's a crazy fun story, but it's also it's rooted in kind of the Black Mirror type storytelling nowadays, where people try to take one thing and kind of blow it up and really see and where this future could lead. So yeah.
So Joe, first of all, said, love it, brilliant ideas. And then he said, melted my skull. Sage has a good question. I'll start with Gen Superiority. But like, what movies or novels or graphic novels or games, like you mentioned Witcher with Lost Magic, which ones influenced you more with like genetic superiority?
Fallout 100%. I played a lot of video games growing up. so definitely all over there. But yeah, the movie wise, definitely Black Mirror, or TV, like Black Mirror was a huge inspiration there. But I would say a lot of every story I tell is kind of based in magic, and has a little bit of magic in it, and I would say that a lot of the things that I used to do were kind of based in the classics like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all those classics that I grew up on, and I was just like, I really want to tell these stories and really create that fun environment, and try to bring again magic back into comics. So.
So talk to me, just because before I move on to Elixir, your main, or I don't want to call him your main character. The other guy on the cover kind of has a very samurai feel, and he's got the sword and everything like that. How do you get, and I know it's been done once or twice, but like you kind of go with that sci-fi, because they're very different genres, sci-fi and like a martial arts or samurai or Ronin type of thing. But it seems like you found a way to mesh some genres there. Was that on purpose? Was that on accident?
100%. It's kind of a little bit of both, but that was the intent of creating an instantly recognizable and classic and new, fresh character that kind of mix a lot of tropes together to create somebody who was conflicted with not only himself but in the story, what he can do in his skills, and we kind of wanted to also be able to fight these robots and animals. Because he's a purist, the samurai guy, and he represents humanity in its purest form, and they're trying to devolve themselves back and into cavemen because they think that those were the best of times. So yeah, you have people going forward and you have people kind of trying to go backwards, and we see that in today's society with people who eat like weird diets like pescatarian or not even like those ones where they don't eat any processed foods. So so lots of like inspirations went into this, and then based off we're just looking around society today, like what's happening, and then just taking it, upping it, amping it up to 1,000 and kind of playing on that riff. So
dude, that's awesome, and I love that. I love that you haven't felt like you need to stick with one genre. You kind of hopped around. Now we're on to the last one, which honestly seems like your two trips on your first book kind of set you up for what is Elixir, because Elixir seems to have some fantasy in there, some high fantasy, but it also seems to be a little bit sci-fi and a little bit darker. Is that correct, or how would you describe the new one?
So I would describe this. It is a little bit of fantasy, but it's not as high fantasy as Lost Magic. I would consider this the ultimate Monster Hunter story, and it is a Monster Hunter story that's where the main character is finds himself in the middle of an eternal war between angels and demons, and he now has to fight these large original forces of the universe. And I'm talking about he's actually fighting him, a human. Cyrus is fighting the physical embodiment of death and love, and all of these forces of the universe. And there's a few others there, but it's one of those things where everything set it up to kind of make this. I learned from those stories and what I want to do, and I wanted to make something completely different in this one. And we kind of just went all out. And this one is the biggest one yet. Of course, it's the most recent one, and it. A lot of people were excited for it. The art is amazing. We got some amazing artists and art team on board, and yeah, I'm super excited for people to kind of finally read Elixir.
Okay. So how many pages is Elixir? Because it feels a little hevier than the other books, or is it different cardstock? 36 full pages, and there's even an after credit scene. We had to, if you like Marvel after credit scenes, we definitely wanted to do a little fun tidbit at the end there. But it also it's a little bit heftier, but it's also just a gorgeous looking book.
we went different prints actually for all the books, but that one in particular I wanted to try out. I was very happy with the high gloss that it came out in, because it looks like a very good book, probably the best looking book I've seen in a while. And then it's one of those things that I was super happy about, and I wanted to. It really brought the world to life when you're reading it. So
I love that you got some. I forget what people used to call it. I call it back matter, but there's like an official term for some of this stuff, like in the back of the book. Like, you have your author's notes, but what I thought was cool is you have the making of Elixir.
Yes.
And then you got stories based on true events. And yeah, you made the book. Yeah, it's based on true events. I love that. So is that was that something small you're working on? And then I also saw that you have a webtoon that's like an Elixir story. So it seems like you've really gone onto that multimedia, like what the Animatrix did back in the 2000s. You're going on that multimedia kind of kick. Is that what you're trying to do with that one?
Absolutely. It's just creating a franchise around the world. Me and Pac, he's the artist of this book. We really are trying to expand it more than just the book, and more than, we're trying to really, of course, everything is built on the foundation of the book, but then we're trying to create this larger world. And how do we really build it into a large franchise and like a name, like a brand name, and all these little steps where we're definitely trying to outreach and grow.
So Joe asked an awesome hypothetical question. So a movie executive walks in and says, one of these 3 books needs to be made into a movie. Which one do you choose?
I would say immediately Elixir, but that's only because when I created Lost Magic, I made it so that it could not be adaptable in any medium besides comics. So it's one of those things where it's so crazy, it's so wild. And also, it can't. I like Game of Thrones. Like, it couldn't. Even HBO picked it up. They could not do it, in my mind, justice the way that a comic book can, and especially with the abstract art style.
Yes.
And the bold colors. Every all these monster designs. Versus where Elixir, then we're talking more of like this Marvel CGI. Like, it can be done with these monsters, or even like the Witcher the Witcher show. Like, it can kind of be something like that. I see it definitely happening. And that's just kind of where I see it. And we even joke that Zack Snyder would be interested in something like this. And maybe we can get him a copy. Pac's working on it as we speak. Yeah, some kind of connection.
A copy, man. Speaking of Pac, like you said, it's definitely, and not to say, like you said, Lost Magic has a little more abstract art. Genetic has a different like sci-fi feel. But Elixir feels overall like the most like polished. It just really has a great art feel to it, both in the cover and the interior pages. How did you end up coming across Pac? How did you guys end up working together on that?
Facebook. I saw him on Facebook, and it was one of those times where it was just a perfect match, because I saw one of his artworks and I was like, man, this guy might be the best artist I've ever seen. And it was one of those times when I was still kind of new to comics. But I knew his style immediately when I saw it. It was unlike anything I've seen before. He's a big crosshatcher. He's very detailed, and you can even tell in the way he packs these pages with panels that he loves the medium, and he's just an excellent artist. He's an expert, right? He's been doing it for so many years. But this is actually his first book.
Really?
Comic book, absolutely. And then it was a journey we took together. And he had pitched a few ideas before. He never took any of them, and then I just kind of came around, and we kind of just clicked, and he just really liked the story. He believed in, of course, me, but he believed in the story and where it could go and all these things. And at that point, he's been like the biggest supporter since day one. And again, there's actually a timeline I have, and it's like the first message I sent to him was in May 9, 2019. So it's been like 3 years in the making now to get this book out here. But that was the very first message we shared. I have a photo of it, and yeah, we go back all the time thinking about this is where the moment it all started, when we were just throwing ideas around, and then it kind of just all fell into place where we want to tell this story, and then every moment going forward, it just kept escalating. Because then we got Rain Barretto on board, who was we started a color search, and we got Rain Barretto, who was he was on DC's Deceased. He was the main colorist, which was like DC's best-selling title at that time frame for those 2 years, 2018 to 2020. And it was one of those things where, okay, so now we got another level up. And then we brought in, there's actually a trailer for Elixir. I don't know if you saw it or not, but we got like a professional animator to come in to animate this trailer to really make people like live in this world a little bit more and visualize it. So at every level, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it was just one of those things that everything just kind of, escalated. It started small.
Dude, that's awesome. Now, I am going to tell you, because you just told me about how many panels he did, so I decided to take a look through. I'm going to tell you, Arman, I now hate you with a passion. So my Twitter handle and my nickname is Danny9Panels. I've written one comic page in my life, and I asked all my professional comic creator friends for advice. I said, if you had one page, how many panels? What should I do? This and that. Most people told me, dude, you got one page, make the most use of it, get 8 to 9 panels. So I did a 9-panel script, and my artist wanted to kill me. He's like, no, dude, I'm not doing 9 panels. Da, da, da. So the name Danny9Panels came apart, even though I never had a 9-panel story yet. I look at your first page, and it's 9 panels. I looked at one of the other pages in here, and it's awesome how artistic he lays out some of the panels. But there was one page where you had 10 panels, like this one where you kind of lay them out sideways and everything like that.
Yep.
It's like, dude, it's kind of cool. Now, is most of that his artistic direction? Do you tell him how many panels you kind of want, or does he just kind of?
That's definitely more of him. We kind of have a great collaborative mojo going on, but a lot of the times they're just and we were talking about a lot when these pages were coming in. It's like there's so much story we want to tell, right? There's just so much, and his style is reminiscent of Hong Kong comics, which he grew up reading, and they pack a lot of action and they pack a lot of panels in the page. And yeah, it was like that new style we're bringing now to indie comics. And then it was one of those things where he was really passionate about it. He really loved details. People have told him in the past actually that you don't have to be that detailed, and he tells them back, no, people appreciate the details, they notice. And I agree. It's one of those things where reading and flipping through this book every now and then, I'm still amazed. I'm still finding something new that I was like, oh wow, So it's the art really definitely. Definitely the panels and the art. It just blows people away, I think, when they see it. So
definitely, dude. It definitely looks beautiful. Your cover is beautiful with all the creature designs on the front and everything. When you get to the back of it, and gosh, I know with COVID and everything, everybody's things change. But on the back of it, you say issue 2, September 2022. Is that still the timeline you're pushing for?
100%. It's gonna get there. It's being colored right now, and then I'll letter it. But around the summer. But yeah, 100%. It's gonna come out September. So
cool. So is right now the publishing schedule season 2 of Lost Magic and then Elixir 2?
So yes and no. So there's actually on my website. There's a whole release slate. I'm coming out with one a month. And it's spread out, but these are the titles. So it'll be in its own random order. But these are the titles that are coming out. The next Lost Magic is going to be Lost Magic again. Season 2 is going to come out, and it will probably hit your shelves as early as next month. Sometime mid June, end of June. But then the next one you can expect it in I believe August. August it'll come out. And then September will be Elixir, and then so there's other titles, but then towards the end of the year it'll be a lot more Lost Magics. It'll be October's Lost Magic for Halloween, and then December will be Lost Magic, and that's all 5 issues, and then it's just kind of how it comes out. So
that's awesome, dude. I absolutely love your enthusiasm. Part of the reason we love working with the independent creators is it's just a different type of passion, man. It's like watching NFL football or NFL or pro sports and college sports. It's like the college kids just care a little bit more, man. And it's with you. Real quick before we get off, I always like to ask people, what was your comic book origin story, your comic book journey? What were the things, what was the first comic book, or nowadays, what was the first, could be manga as well, but what was the first, graphic novel of sorts that you picked up and that got you into this track? And when did you know you wanted to write comics?
I used to read a few comics and back when I was back in middle and high school, and then I watched everything on CW. Huge CW fan, Arrow and Flash and all that fun stuff. But then really, what it came down to was recently I came across I kind of went to college and all that stuff, and then I kind of picked up my first book after that. So big long hiatus from comics was Monstrous, Marjorie Liu's Monstrous,
Yep.
and then I read it. And again, it had everything kind of all the elements, and it really opened my mind as to what is possible, not only in comics, but what I wanted to do storytelling wise. All these cool things, it made me fall in love with art. And then from that moment, of course, Marjorie Liu, she's a huge inspiration. A female Asian author, right? But then she was able to tell this story about fantasy, and she was talking about some dark themes and some important themes, and it just kept kind of really ruminating in my mind, like, wow, I want to do that. I kind of want to kind of tell these stories in this way. And then kind of started immediately after that, started thinking about Lost Magic. And it wasn't even that long ago. Honestly, it was maybe like 2 years ago when I picked up that book. Maybe it was in like after like 2020. I picked up that book, Monstrous, and I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And then I just did it, So
Dude, that's so awesome, because like doing this now for, I probably maybe have hit 100 episodes over the course of 3 years, but it's like you hear all the sorts of origin stories. Oh, I read X-Men in the 90s. And it's like, so it's kind of cool when you find the people that got into it a little bit later in life, especially like I'm a Hispanic, like you said, you're Asian. Some generations and some, ethnicities, they just don't know about comics, man. I grew up my whole life. I watched Spider-Man and X-Men, the animated series, but I thought comic books were this defunct thing that you only saw in movies, or like comic book stores, I guess, like I was like, there's nowhere you walk into anymore and there's a spinner rack with comics. So then I turned 21 and moved to a big city, and I'm like, oh, there's 4 comic stores in walking distance. So, that's really cool, dude. I love to see people get into it that maybe didn't spend their whole life thinking they'd get into it.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a recent thing, and again, very, very new. I just launched my first book this January 3. I just wanted to do it. I didn't really, know if I was gonna. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anybody in the community, and then I just jumped in, and then months later, now we are, and we're pushing books out, gaining that audience and that fan base. So.
Dude, so congratulations. Last thing I'll kind of ask you, since you've really only been doing it, wow, we're only 5 months into the year. So 5 months in, you got 3 books out, you're on store shelves. Just what's this half year felt like for you, man?
It feels good. And every time, another month passes, it's like, wow, like look how far we've come, really is what kind of, I feel. And, I talk about it, Sam Quinton, he was a friend. He actually is the one who pointed me in your direction. Mm-hmm. He has, we kind of met on the first day on Kickstarter in that community. And then he kind of invited me into the indie community. But it was also one of those moments where every time, like now since that moment, it was like, how far have we come? And how far will we be, at the end of this year compared to where we were? It's like, because we're trying to definitely grow, but also tell these great stories and really kind of push and raise indie comics as an industry going forward. And I mean, like truly indie, whether that's crowdfunded or small press, stuff like that. So it's definitely an exciting time, and I'm kind of more excited about where we're going to be in a few more months from now. Just more stories out, more people getting excited about it, and more people being like, yeah, Lost Magic, when's the next book coming out? So.
Well, that's awesome, dude. People can definitely feel your enthusiasm. So the books, guys, we have them in the store. We have Lost Magic, number 1, or season 1, as I should say, right here. Also, the first, let me see, you sent me a few freebies. So for this one, he sent me 2 prints. So first 2 people to buy Lost Magic in the store will get 2 prints for free.
Yes.
Got Genetic Superiority in here as well. I love this print because it's like almost like the Da Vinci thing with the body, but with the faces. We have 2 of these. So first 2 people to buy Genetic Superiority get one of those. And then Elixir, which I'm excited to go and read tonight. That looks sick. And then he gave us 4 prints for that one, which I also think are beautiful little prints right here. And the first, actually, you sent me 5. So that means everybody who buys an Elixir.
Everybody's getting one. Yes, please, sir.
Everybody who buys an Elixir gets a print for free. The books are here in the store. I'll have them bagged and boarded and everything by the end of the day. He is Arman Nasim, the writer of the book. Where can they find you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website for the stuff?
I am. You can so it's my name, armannasim.com. And you can just, if you go to that, you can find my website. But also I have my own YouTube show. You'll come on it one time soon, Danny. It's called Submarine Treehouse. It's on the Elixir front cover. It's kind of like the publisher name we're going by. So
Yep.
submarinetreehouse.com. You can just type in submarinetreehouse.com and you'll go to my YouTube channel, or you can just search it up on the YouTube bar, and I'm sure it'll pop up. So
Yep. And if you buy a copy of Elixir, he's even got a nifty QR code that I believe will take you there.
absolutely. So,
But Arman, thank you so much for joining us, dude. I'm looking forward to getting these in everybody's hands. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reading them. We will definitely, it won't take this long to get the next ones in. But dude, it was awesome having you on. I can't wait to sell out of these and just be calling you again to get more.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thanks so much for having me, Danny. And thanks for putting me in the store. It means a lot. It really does.
No problem, man. I'm gonna put you backstage real quick while we wrap up.
All right. Bye.
So Sage, just so you know, we have the store here in the comic here in the store. Oh my gosh, my words are all messed up. We have the comic here in the store. I'm pretty sure Elixir I know is $5.99. I think they're all $5.99. Actually, let me add Arman. Arman, these are all $5.99, right?
Yes, sir. All $5.99.
Boom. Now we relegate him backstage. But yeah, so they're all $5.99. We have them here at the store, Sage. Just let us know next time you're in. And if I sell out, Arman, we'll get more from Arman. So thank you so much, guys. Have a good one, and we will be back tomorrow with the New This Week show, where New This Week will be